Just as a disclaimer, we want you to know that some of the movies that we will be reviewing were shot in a different time and era where people of race and sex were not treated equally. We understand this and hope you do too. The movies or anything that happened on the sets are not the views of this podcast or what this show is intended to be all about.
Exactly. And we want to give due diligence in presenting the movie and not the views of the cast or directors or anyone involved. But we also feel it's necessary to let the audience know some of the background information to get a feel for what was happening at the time of shooting the film. Again, we hope you understand that we do not agree with everything that went on, and we just want to give out the information. And with that being said, hope you enjoy the show.
There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
Alright guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema, the Twilight Zone series. We are finally up to episode number 6, The Escape Clause. I'm your host Jimbo, and joined with me today in the studio is none other than
80s E.
Eric Cumming. We used to call him Easy E, but that's a different story.
Thanks for having me back in.
Yeah, he's going to do a couple of Twilight Zones with us, so get some more content out. So, Eric, let's go and take it away. You know the routine.
Escape Clause. This is episode 6 of the Twilight Zone. Its original air date was November 6th, 1959. So going back a ways for this. It was directed by Mitchell Liaison. And the writing credits, of course, are Rod Serling, written by and created by Rod Serling. And on to the cast category, Rod Serling again as the narrator, David Wayne as Walter Bedecker, Thomas Gomez as Cadwaller, or a.k.a. Satan, the devil, Virginia Christine Ethel Bedecker, Raymond Bailey, played the Doctor, Wendell Holmes, Cooper, Dick Wilson played Jack, Joe Flynn as Steve, and Nedson Booth as the guard. I'm assuming that's the prison guard right at the end.
The synopsis for this episode was: a hypochondriac man sells his soul to the devil for 1,000 years of immortality. So this guy, man, at the beginning of the movie, or the show, man, he's just in bed, and he's just, I can't do anything, and he's like, the doctor's there with his wife again, and
he is just beyond help. Like, the guy just is a hypochondriac. He always thinks that he has something wrong with him, some ailment, some disease, and he's constantly being reassured by his wife that he's fine, and the doctor comes in and says, you got a clean bill of health, everything's good, your eyes, your ears, everything checks out. And you come to find out, well, I don't want to jump ahead, but this guy's anxiety that he had all the time really was like his point for living, if you can believe that. Like, that was his whole reason for living, was all of these ailments made life, I guess, exciting for him, maybe you could say, or it gave him purpose.
Or it gave him attention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
an attention getter, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
And he's like, open the window for me.
I feel so bad for his wife.
Oh,
man. She was like awesome.
What an angel.
Man. And he just treats her horribly, terribly through the whole episode. And she just really is genuinely concerned for his well-being. And obviously this guy has
But as it goes on, man, you just feel so bad for her because he
yeah.
just yells at her and it's like, she's like, I'm sorry, and he's like, I don't want this. Close the door, open the door, cover me up, don't cover me up. And then she's like to the breaking point, like, I can't take it anymore.
It's so bad that the doctor actually prescribes her vitamins to take because she's so exhausted from taking care of him.
Right. That guy plays a really great part. The hypochondriac. And then, he's got all these elements. Then you see him hop out of bed and he's yelling at her. Like, I was like, well, if you're feeling that bad, why?
Right. He has enough energy to yell at his wife, but he's so ill and so yeah.
He couldn't even get out of bed, right? Right. And then he goes over to the mirror and looks in the mirror. He's checking his tongue and his eyes and his nose and all that. And he's just like, and then you see him like go back to the bed, and he's just like,
And this is an important line too. I didn't mean to interrupt, but like as the scene progresses, he's bemoaning the fact that his life. Why does a man's life? Why does it only last for 60 or 70 years? Why is it so short? And you're barely an infant, and your life is gone in the blink of an eye, and he's bemoaning the fact, and then that sort of paves the way for Cadwallader character to come in.
Yeah, you see him just sitting there, and he appears in the room, and he's like talking to him, and he answers him, and he's like, whoa, there's somebody in here.
Yeah. So Cadwallader has a proposition for him, like the old Charlie Daniels song. He sells his soul to the devil,
right?
This devilish character.
For was it 1,000 years of immortality, right?
Well, what's 500? What's 1,000 years? All he has to do in exchange for basically never dying, he has to give his soul to the devil, and then they banter back and forth, and they hammer out this contract that Cadwallader ultimately pulls out, and then he has that smoking stamp and
he seals it.
Stamps it down once Walter Bedecker signs his soul away to the devil, and he thinks he's got it made now. Like, he's never going to die. He doesn't have to worry about being sick. He could literally do anything, and he's invincible, basically.
And he does do some pretty crazy stuff, too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's what's interesting, too, as the show progresses. What's he do? He actually uses it to his advantage.
It's an insurance scam. Remember?
Right.
What was it? He fell off of jumps out the window or something.
He jumps in front of a train.
Yeah.
He drinks poison in front of his wife. That was one thing he did.
And I want to say, doesn't it get to the point where I think he jumps off the top of the roof or something, tries to kill himself?
Well, that's toward the end, and when his wife goes up there to stop him, you're getting toward the end of the episode, but he has all these insurance guys coming to his apartment, and they're writing him checks for settlement checks, basically, because he jumps in front of the train, he gets hit by a bus. That was the other one. And all these guys sort of parade into his apartment, and he writes that he signs these checks and he gets money because he's using it to his advantage. But the whole time he's doing all this, he bemoans again the fact that he's bored. Life has become meaningless to him now because he's invincible. He doesn't have to worry about anything, and he's bored with his life.
And I kind of wonder if now that he knows that he has immortality, that the hypochondriac in his brain is saying, "Hey, you have none of these elements anymore."
Right, and I got to find a way to get attention.
Right. And there's the part where he just jumps right off on the subway. Just does Superman dive right off onto the thing.
Oh, we missed the part where right after he receives his immortality, he puts his hand on a hot radiator in his bedroom, and it doesn't burn his hands.
Right.
And of course, his poor wife she ends up, paying the ultimate price for this guy's foolishness.
So there's where he jumps in front of the thing, gets ran over, and his suit and all that. You can see the marks on the back of his suit and everything. You know what I mean? Where the L train or subway has ran over him. He's like, I flipped over there or whatever. And then you see them guys come to give him more money. He's like, well, we'll just give you,
Right, here's the apartment scene where the guys come in and they write him all the checks. And he asks his wife for some ammonia, and he mixes it with like iodine and something else, and he drinks it down, and he says it tastes like lemonade. And his wife is totally freaking out because he's just according to him, he's drank enough poison to kill 12 men, and he says it tastes like lemonade.
You kind of wonder what his wife's thinking at this point. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? I mean, this guy.
And then he has this great idea that he's going to go to the top of the building, apartment building. I assume this is filmed in New York or something.
Right.
And he's going to jump off the building for sport just to see what it feels like. And in an attempt to stop him from doing that, his wife is in front of him, and she falls over the side of the building and obviously dies. The camera angle on that kind of looks like...
and I like how she screamed and all the lights light up.
Yeah. And what was the movie that you guys did way back? Vertigo, yeah. The camera angle. That looks very similar to Vertigo.
Right.
And so he proceeds to go down after his wife. He doesn't even seem to be bothered at all that his wife just fell off and died.
Yeah.
Because of him. And
he actually calls and turns himself in.
Yeah, he calls the cops here very casually and says, "I've just killed my wife." He says it really matter-of-factly, and he doesn't seem too concerned at all. And so the police, eventually come and arrest him. And I think the next scene is him sitting in front of his lawyer. And his lawyer gives him great news. Or no, I'm sorry. The lawyer, the death penalty in the state that he's in is the electric chair. And they have this conversation, and he tells the lawyer, well, they're going to be wasting a lot of money on electricity trying to kill me in the electric chair because, obviously he can't die. And so they have this little discussion, and then they part ways, I think. And then the next scene, I think, is when they're in the courtroom, and his lawyer congratulates him because he's negotiated a deal where instead of the death sentence, he gets life in prison.
Yeah.
But that's worse than a death sentence for Walter Bedecker because he can't die. He's
immortal.
He's gonna rot in jail for thousands of years. And so the judge passes his sentence, and the next scene is him behind bars.
Did you notice the judge's name?
Yeah.
Judge Cummings?
Yeah, we have a same last name. So the guard comes in and tells him he's going to be having his last meal before he goes on to the penitentiary for life. And then the guard sort of tells him, hey, what's the big deal? What's 45 years? You can do that, no problem. That's like a walk in the park.
Yeah.
And he tries, I guess, maybe to try to encourage him or give him some kind of hope. But Bedecker knows better. It's not going to be just 40 or 45 years. It's going to be way longer than that, unless he uses his escape clause, a la the title of the episode, and he tells the devil, or Cadwallader, I guess is his name in the episode. He tells him that he wants to exercise his escape clause, which means he dies physically, right, but his soul obviously is then taken by Cadwallader. And so that's how the
and I think he dies of a heart attack or something.
Yeah, Cadwallader comes in and says, you look like a man who's going to have a heart attack. And then, of course, Bedecker dies right there in the jail cell.
Yeah.
And that's the
end of the movie. So they do come and check on him or whatever.
Right. And then the guard says, this guy just dropped dead.
Yeah, and then you have Rod Serling, give his ending things. He always gives something special at the end of the episode or whatever.
A tagline at the end.
Right.
A little man was such a...
Beaten by the devil. By his own portal.
Yeah.
By the scheme of things in this.
These episodes they're very introspectual, like sort of... they're so well written. Serling was way ahead of his time.
I was going to say, a lot of things that he wrote and talked about is like about being on the moon and all.
Right.
We had never been to the moon yet.
Right, and there's like an obsession with end of world cataclysms and self-isolation as a theme a lot in his episodes.
A lot of devil and heaven, God, a lot of that stuff.
And I mean, it kind of goes with the times, because you think about the Cold War would have been going on in the late 50s, and atomic bombs and all of the things that people were really afraid of at that particular time.
Basically coming out of World War II.
Yeah, and he wrote to all of those. I think a lot of those fears that people were feeling, and sort of addressed them in the episodes.
Right. So a couple of quick things about this. The cast includes 2 actors best known for starring in long-running TV commercials. Virginia Christine, who was Mrs. Olson for Folgers Coffee.
Oh.
And Dick Wilson was Mr. Whipple for Charmin Bathroom Tissue.
I did read that one, but yeah. Squeeze the Charmin guy.
At the time this series first aired, it was commonly believed that a frequent cause of hypochondria was a desperate need to find something to occupy one's mind. A combination of boredom and a lack of imagination about how to counter that boredom. Several TV series of the time had episodes involving a one-of character whose hypochondria was cured by finding something else of interest to replace the hypochondria.
Well, there you go.
The title refers to a legal term, condition, or clause in a contract that allows a party to that contract to avoid having to perform the contract. The validity of the clause is usually limited by a time frame, i.e. 30 days or 72 hours, or subject to the satisfaction of the customer for delivered goods or services. So that's where the escape clause claimed for. Well, there you have it. That was episode number 6, the escape clause. It's a good episode, not one of my favorites.
Not one of the best, but it's pretty good.
It does make you think.
Introspective, yeah.
Right.
It makes you think about life and death. And
honestly, the Twilight Zone's great all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
Just they're short, quick, easy to watch, and it's on Netflix if anybody would like to watch it. Well, I think that's the wrap on this episode. We're getting ready to sit down and record another one or two. That's a wrap on this episode. And
cut.